for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Welcome into Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now here are your hosts, Jeff and Nicole Essig.
All right, welcome into the Fitness Fanatics. It is January 29th. It is Championship Sunday in the NFL world. Our family's looking forward to it. Kids have been counting down. It's kind of a bitter day, though, because there's only 3 football games left.
Yep.
And then we're bored for the next 8 months. Yesterday was really boring. Like,
we cleaned our house
yes.
as a family.
Clean the house. Our kids took us out for lunch.
Yep.
And bought us lunch.
It was fun.
But it was boring. Like we were watching old episodes of Schitt's Creek and like there's just nothing to do. So we're not looking forward to like next weekend when there's no football. I don't really count the Pro Bowl because I don't really care. But yeah, it was boring yesterday. So Harrison, were you bored yesterday? No football? First Saturday since August?
Yeah, my girlfriend was happy. Go figure.
Yeah.
It's hand in hand, right? You lose football, and then the girlfriend or the wife gets a little happier as well because you're not spending so much time just staring at the TV watching football all day.
Kind of, but then as we've been getting, obviously we've been together for a long time. I'm not looking forward to Jeff being in the way now when football's on. Like, you're gonna want to do stuff, and I'm gonna have to be like, I'm not your entertainer, like, so it swings back around. I would say it swings back around.
Yeah. I'm not a big NBA guy. I mean, I'm a big Houston Rockets fan. And I mean, when they're just terrible,
I was going to say that hasn't been fun.
I just can't even really watch it. It's just not fun when your team's so bad. I mean, the Bears are bad, but we have like fantasy football and stuff that we do. So it makes it more entertaining to watch on Sundays. And the kids are Ravens fans and Nicole's a Packers fan. So there's stuff you just watch. If an NFL game is on, you watch it. NBA, not so much for me anyway. I know
it's got to be like playoffs. There's 82 games in a season. NFL, it's like, so you have a golden window of football and you devour as much as you can and then it's over.
Yes.
NBA, it's like, you got 82 games. MLB, you got over 100 games.
Yeah.
Football is a very small window.
Yeah. At least we only have about 3 weeks and then kind of March Madness starts. And so I like watching that. And, even though Nebraska's not in there, there's, we still like to watch those games and have our bracket pools and the ticket pool last year. This was before we had our own show. I had almost won it.
Oh, really?
I finished in the top 5. If we go back and look, because I did pick Kansas to win the whole thing. So I was right there, so close to winning, but I just didn't win.
Nope.
But it's probably the best I've ever done. Usually in those, if you pick the winner, you're going to be up there.
Yeah, you're usually doing well. Last year's bracket was just a mess. I remember, I think out of the 16, I think Jake Sorensen on early break, I think he only got 4 out of 16 teams, right?
Yeah.
It was last year was just an abysmal bracket for a lot of people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, there's always sports going on.
We did watch the Chris Street documentary, which was very good.
Yes.
I don't know if it's available anywhere else now because last week was the anniversary.
Well, and people that live in Nebraska, they might not even know who Chris Street is.
I feel like they probably do.
Harrison, you know who Chris Street is?
Chris Street. He was a player.
No, what were you watching on?
Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
Oh, Big Ten Network.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But I don't know if it's like streaming anywhere now because the anniversary of his death was last week. So we recorded it
Do you
and
know
watched
who
it.
Chris Street
I know
is?
the name. I cannot point him
Yeah.
out in the crowd.
Okay.
Though.
Yeah.
So Chris Street was a player at Iowa. And,
Mhm.
I lived in Iowa from when I was 2 until
Yeah.
I was 38, 39.
He actually came from the town right next to my town. So
He went to, went to Indianola, played at Iowa, and he was a junior at this time. And you know who the Murray twins are that play
Yes.
for? Okay. So their dad, Kenyon Murray, was on
Okay.
the same team. AC Earl, you might know who he is. He played for the Celtics in the NBA. He was on this team. Well, anyway, so Chris Street died in a car accident when he was a junior at Iowa. Just, I mean,
NFL prospect, very
NBA,
talented.
not
Or yeah,
NFL.
NFL, NBA.
I was
yeah.
going to say I was going.
I don't know why I said NBA.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
NFL.
Anyway,
NBA prospect,
yeah.
and I remember as a kid, like I would have been a freshman in high school, so Nebraska basketball just wasn't all that great. I mean, they were okay, but so you're kind of like watching Iowa State. Fred Hoiberg was a player at that time at Iowa State.
He was in it. He was in the documentary.
Yeah, he was on the documentary because
really?
they played against each other a couple times. Well, Chris Street's final game was they played at Duke. Duke had Christian Leitner, Bobby Hurley, so that kind of brought up some stuff
the
for
most
me.
Hated Duke.
Oh,
team
yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
Too.
93.
Yes, 93. So that was his last game as an Iowa Hawkeye, and he died 2 days later. He pulled out and got hit by a snowplow.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Right.
it's very tragic story.
So
I did not know that.
Really,
that's why you don't know him. You don't recognize his name because he
No,
was
but just like
yes,
Yes.
very tragic. You would have known his name had he gone on.
It's kind of like a Brooke Behringer type situation.
very much,
Yeah.
for
very
Nebraska
much.
fans.
Yeah.
So just kind of all of a sudden, and then it goes into the documentary because I remember like they took like 10 days off, and then Iowa went to Michigan State, and Tom Izzo was on there, and they were down by like 17, 18 points, and then Tom Izzo, he was sent for Jack Oath, and he was like, you could just start to feel something happening, and Iowa came all the way back. They won in overtime, and then the next game, their first game at Carver after the passing of Chris Street, they played Michigan in the Fab Five: Weber, Jalen Rose, Jawan Howard, Ricky Jackson. There's one other. I can't remember the last guy, and they beat Michigan at home. So they went like on kind of a little run.
Yeah,
so
Fab Five.
Yeah. So it kind of brought back some nostalgia memories for me, like, seeing some of the Duke players. And I mean, one of the best games I've ever seen was Duke, Kentucky in the Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm.
And Christian Leitner hit the shot from the free throw line. I was a sophomore in high school. And it was just, one of the best shots you'll ever see. It was kind of cool.
I think I was 15 watching a documentary, but
Right.
Yeah, probably.
That documentary is fantastic. I think it was ESPN 30 for 30 though. But
Probably.
yeah, those. In fact, that's when college basketball was at its peak.
Well, and the reason I think it was at its peak is because guys were there for 4 years.
Yeah.
There's no Christian Leitners, Bobby Hurley's staying for 4 years.
Well, even the Fab Five was making people mad because it's like you can't start freshmen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's insane how far
Well,
away
that
we
was
are
even
from that.
Chris Street's story because he basically signed, I don't know if that's what it's called, but his letter of intent with Iowa, super young.
He was like a sophomore.
And that was unheard of. Like that was unheard of at that time. And now it's like ridiculous.
Now they're
Like,
getting offers in 8th grade.
Yeah.
You see a kid in 8th grade who's 6'7", it's like we're gonna send you
Yeah.
an offer your way.
I know.
yeah, it was like kind of controversial. Even when he was a freshman in Iowa, right? That he didn't start. Like there was a time where he wasn't like a main player until they
Right.
got a little antsy and were like, we got to put him in. But it was really good. It was very like Hoiberg was in it. Also at the end, they said that during the rest of his career at Iowa State, he changed his number to 40 to honor Chris Street. So it's Husker adjacent now.
Hoiberg was wearing his Husker
shirt
polo.
That's amazing.
in the little interview. So
one of my buddies who's an Iowa fan, texts me. He's like, "Oh, Fred just can never turn down an opportunity to get the Huskers in there."
Okay.
You guys, while we're here, did you guys watch the
Okay.
Nebraska basketball game yesterday?
No,
Sam Hoiberg. He
Well,
he had
okay,
himself
yeah.
a game.
I
He
was
on
following
fire.
on Twitter. Like
Yeah.
DP was
we
tweeting.
watched the women's basketball game. But
Yeah, we watched the second half of the women's
Okay.
game.
Yeah.
Playing Iowa, and it got close, and which
and it wasn't.
Caitlin Clark's just she's
A
insane.
force.
She's insane.
Yeah,
She's
she
just
can do
crazy.
everything.
Yeah.
Feels like.
Like we went out to lunch and we got home and turned the game on and she hits a 3 like instantly. Like, oh, what a great way to start this game for
She
us.
just
you know?
casually throws an almost half court just because she almost made it. She didn't, but it was kind of annoying.
Yeah, we're like, come on now. You don't need to shoot from half court.
Who was that player early from Nebraska basketball girls team who hit that ridiculous half court shot? Wasn't even trying to hit
Was
it.
that was at
Oh.
the end of the game? She just kind of
Yeah,
flipped it.
she
I
ju-
don't remember
wasn't
what her
wasn't
name
even
was,
trying to
Right.
score.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
the most. It was
Oh.
unintentionally insulting, and she even was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
I can't believe that went in."
She just kind of threw it up there to end the game and
Yeah.
it went in.
Yeah.
I know.
It was
Yeah.
insane.
But
But yeah, that had me
no.
think about Sam Hoiberg. We're talking about Fred. But
Yes,
yeah. Shout
yeah.
out Sam Hoiberg. He had 15 points to finish with, but I don't think he hardly missed any shots. I think he missed 1 or 2 shots. But it was kind of cool to see him go out there because I was like, remember when they're playing Michigan State? Izzo had his kid out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was the 2 coaches' son, and I was
Oh,
like, I think
geez.
Sam's a little better here than the other one. Izzo, I don't know how Tom Izzo's kid's on the roster. I mean, he was not.
Mm.
He averaged, and we looked up in high school. I don't even think he averaged over 4 points.
Well, it's
Oh
the
my
kids, right? They
gosh.
walk on and
Still.
Yeah, but like it's like that's a roster spot
Yeah.
for a
Yes.
guy.
I know.
And like
Yeah.
he wasn't the best player in high school. He wasn't on any no one was looking at him.
Yeah,
but
that's
it was just cool
Well,
to see Sam
Tom
Hoiberg.
Izzo
side-eye.
walk on water. East
Yeah,
Lansing.
that's
He can do
true.
whatever he wants.
I
I remember watching, my stepmom's dad, huge Iowa fan. He'd always carry around the Iowa basketball schedule in his
Mhm.
pocket. So anytime we were there, or he was at our house, that they'd be watching Iowa, and Nicole's family's the same way. There's more
Yeah.
basketball fans than
Yeah.
football fans back then. And we were watching a game against Indiana, and Bobby Knight's son played.
Yep.
Pat Knight. I remember my grandpa being like, put in your son, because he wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But just watching that documentary and going back to Indiana had a point guard, Damon Bailey and Calvert Chaney, and Damon Bailey was so good. That was, for me, that was kind of the pinnacle of basketball, just because those guys, you got to know them
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they were there, and so you got some rivalries. Like Duke Michigan was a rivalry. They played in the finals in the Fab Five's freshman year, and then they played again in the second year, and Duke beat them. And so you just kind of got that bad blood in college, which you don't really get anymore. Like
No.
everybody's just friends.
I know. I mean, it makes sense.
I
though. You
like
only
little
play each
trash
other for a
talking.
year.
Like I liked it when Baker Mayfield planted the Oklahoma flag in Ohio State's 50-yard line. I like that.
Yeah.
I know. I'm the same way. Like sometimes I get upset. It'll be like, you guys just lost 35-3. Why are you taking his jersey, asking him if he can sign it?
Right.
Like, what are you,
Oh, for Tom Brady or
just
whoever.
for anyone. It's
Yeah.
like sometimes I'm like, really?
That
like
is
you're
true.
you're cool with this? It's like, all right. I mean, you're doing better than me, so who am I to yell? But
Yeah.
it's,
Yes,
That
I
is
like the trash talking.
yeah,
So
I'm the same way.
I like the mayor of Cincinnati saying Burrowhead. I mean, I like that.
I know.
I want to get people get fired up. That's what I like about sports. That's how it used to be, anyway. So
Well, we'll see how much we can get our guest fired up here.
we'll get him fired up. So
Yeah, we
Rivalries.
got Matthew Taylor ahead.
Yeah.
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. So we're gonna take a break here.
He's watching, so I'm assuming.
Okay, so our guest coming up.
I don't know if he's here yet.
Our
but-
guest coming up is longtime ticket listener. Matthew Taylor is going to be in studio with us. Big Chiefs fan, big Huskers fan. And the guy has an amazing weight loss journey that we're going to talk about too. So he's also a boy band fanatic. So, I mean, we have a lot of subject. He gave me the rundown
We
this
do.
morning. So we're going to be ready to roll. Hopefully he's rolling into the studio. We're going to take a break early this time, and we'll be back. Got a lot of things to cover, so don't go anywhere. 93.7 The Ticket, the Fitness Fanatics.
A new year means new goals and upgrading, but that doesn't only apply to health and fitness. Mullen Motors can get you into a new vehicle right now and get your 2023 started off the right way. They cleared off their 2022 inventory and have tons of new vehicles to choose from to make sure you get to where you need to be this year. Out with the old, in with the new. Stop by Mullen Motors today, just north of 48th and Lake.
No tagline, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
This message is for Karina, our mom who finished her high school diploma at age 28. Hi, Mom. It's Emmettith and Nicholas.
Congratulations on getting your diploma.
You worked so hard and have taught us so much. We love you.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is "My job is people, everyone is my business." But unfortunately, in that year, I was my own Corporal Adam Jack side. The majority of it was from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Veterans, do you know what local, state, and federal benefits and services you're eligible to receive? Do you want help navigating the application or appeals process? Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. You served our country, now let us serve you. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use, call 988 free, confident, and compassionate support. On July 16th, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is transitioning to 988. There is hope. For 24/7 support, call, text, or chat 988.
Sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we are back in the Fanatics 93.7 The Ticket FM. We are joined in studio by longtime Ticket listener, Matthew Taylor is in studio with us. How are you, buddy?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me, you guys. This is going to be an amazing day.
All right. Well, the main reason I wanted you in is because, I've kind of seen like you comment on different things and you like, I know you're friends with Hooksy of Slim Chickens, right? So that's kind of where I've like seen him like stuff that you've done and you posted. So then I saw a post about your weight loss. I was like, holy smokes, that I need to reach out to this person because this is pretty amazing. I won't get into like numbers or anything like that, but that's kind of the main reason that we wanted you in, because one of the things we like to do on this show is to share stories with people. I mean, not only in the Lincoln area, but really anywhere, success stories on health, fitness, weight loss, that maybe your story can touch a chord with some of our listeners that might be struggling. Because that's why we own Farrell's, is because Farrell's help really save our lives. So we like to give back. So that's kind of what led us into being gym owners. We didn't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I always want to be a gym owner. No, I actually wanted to talk about Nebraska football on the radio when I was a kid. That was what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I kind of get to live out both of my dreams now.
Yep.
So, but we don't talk a lot about Husker football on this show, usually because this is a positive show. So like during the season, there were times when they lost, we would never even bring it up. Like you wouldn't even know this show is in Lincoln. We just wouldn't even talk about it like it never happened. So hopefully next year we'll have fun things to talk about in our opening segments and be positive. So we're going to get to your weight loss journey at the top of the hour. But for this first couple segments, we want to get to know a little bit about you.
Because you're also really big into youth sports in Lincoln. Yeah. So that's a good thing we want to kind of talk about too.
Yeah. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit about your involvement in youth sports, what you do, how you got involved in it, and a little bit about your backstory, because I know you're very passionate about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the perfect place to start is our message. You talked about Coach Hooksy and Brant Vlieger and Jake Bishop. They are, they're our coaching staff, but they are also my best friends. And my message to our team or anybody that we're around is being bigger than baseball or bigger than what you're living right now. And what that entails for us is being better students, being better sons, daughters, friends. Being a better athlete will come with all that, as long as you're putting in the work on yourself. And, with the youth sports thing, it started off with just wanting to be involved, and helping people like myself growing up, because I did have one or two really good coaches that stuck with us all the way through. And it's not like I was an incredible athlete, or I would even just say pretty much average, right? But having that person backing you, letting you know that it's not just this that we're working on, it's stuff outside of that. Yes, sir, no, ma'am, holding the door for you, being the first one there, being the last leave. That's not baseball talk. Right. That's life, and we've been with this group since they were 7 and 8. Now they're, we're going into our 12U season. And like last night, for example, we had a parent night and all the parents got together with the whole organization. And you could tell with our group, it's just different. They're friends outside of that. One of the parents actually brought up last night, he said, my son will hang out with his basketball team there in basketball. He'll hang out with his football team there in football. But he's hanging out with these guys that you've put him around, that we've put them around year round. And that, to me, that I don't know how to explain it. There's something about knowing that they might not see today, they might not see it tomorrow, they might not see it next week, but when they're 34, 44, 54, whatever, they're going to look back on these and hopefully at the end of the day say, those are the best summers of my life, best years of my life. We're a family now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question or not. But
no, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Well, and it's important too, because and helping, I think when you have such a great idea of what you want this to be, like you're making it bigger than it is. You're helping them understand so much more than just the game. You're helping them understand people are depending on you and how to be dependable. And then, which is great in team sports, it's great when you work as an adult, but there's also things that as they get older, then they'll be able to do that for themselves also. Like, I think that's where a lot of times, and we can talk about this when we talk about your health journey, but we put ourselves second, third, fourth, last all the time. And then, but they have that foundation where they can make that click and think, you know, I need to do this for me. I need to depend on myself. I need to do that. And I think that's something that kind of can get lost in that competition. But if you're building that foundation, that's something that's going to help those kids as they become adults.
Yeah. And you know, the big thing is believing in yourself, right? And I don't want it to come off like I don't want these kids to compete, because what I tell them, look, I don't need you to be perfect. I don't want you to be perfect, Harrison. You don't need to be perfect, but I want you to compete against the person you were yesterday. And that to me has made such a big difference in my life outside of coaching and work and being a father to 11 kids. And then,
what?
Well, no, the Raven baseball kids. I got 2 kids. They're 9 and 6. But like, you have to take that father aspect. Like, you have to bring that to the field. I mean, I asked my daughter, Madison, 2 seasons ago. We were going through a rough season, you know, and finally had the coaching in place now and the people around these kids to make them successful. But I asked her, I said, do you want me to stop coaching? Do you want me to you know, hang it up and just be dad? And she, bless her heart, man, she is one of the smartest kids I know. She said, I get you as a father 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You don't know which one of these kids needs you as a coach today. And I swear, word for word, that's what she said.
Yeah.
And that's when it really clicked. Hey, these kids, they are listening to you. They're listening to all of us. Right now, I'm almost guaranteeing you I got some of these baseball kids up and at them listening. They listen to everything you say, whether we think that they're just, I hate that. I hate that when people are like, they're just 11, they're just 12. You were 12. I was 12. I listened to you when you talked. Whether you want to believe it or not, you know. So for her to say that, that's big time. And there are good and bad coaches with youth sports, you know, and it has such a bad name. And I want that stigma to go away, because there are some of the best people I've ever met. My best friends I've met through this game, through coaching. The best kids out there in my mind in the country are in our backyard, man. They're in Nebraska. They're in Lincoln. They're in Hickman. They're at Norris, you know. Those are great kids.
How did you get started in this? Like you said, you started when they were 7, and now they're 12. Like, did you do any coaching before? Or is this just like, you're like, okay, we're a bunch of dads, we're going to start coaching this team and see what happens? Like, how did you get involved into the youth coaching? You know, especially like I think it's the Sox, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that group, and how did that all come about?
Yeah, I've never coached my own kids. So I still haven't, I guess, you know. So that being said, we have 2 non-dad coaches and 2 dad coaches for the Sox. But I've been with this group for 5 years. A year before that, one of my best friends and we met through the Lincoln Blackhawks. I had sent out an email. I wanted to get back into being athletic again. And, you know, I might not have been the best athlete, but I know that I had a message to tell, and I wanted to tell as many people as possible. So I sent out a few emails, and I went and got my educator's permit through the state of Nebraska. And I had thought this whole time you had to be a teacher to coach. Being from Lexington out west, all of our coaches were some way tied to the school. And so I was going to go full board and get my education permit, and I was going to become a teacher. Got 3 years into UNL and realized you don't have to do that. I will finish, but I haven't yet. Sent all the emails out, and the Blackhawks reached out and said, hey, yeah, we're looking for help at the 13U level. And I almost didn't walk in. I went to that first practice, sat outside, and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I can't do this. I don't think I can.
That's called imposter syndrome.
Texted my wife, and she goes, go inside. Go inside. You know, you've done all this. You've got to this point. Are you really going to turn around and walk away? I'm like, yup, I sure am. I don't know what I'm doing. Walked in, and, you know, the rest kind of took off. And again, I cannot stress enough. If you even have a little hunch that you might be able to teach something, coach something, motivate somebody, wake up and you have a positive attitude, there are people that need you. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter if you want to help the elderly. It doesn't matter if you want to help the youth. If you have a message, talk. Let them know.
That's awesome. We do have a text. Greg in Lincoln just said Norris guy, exclamation point. So I don't know if you know him or not, but he's a Norris guy. So, all right. So with this group you're coaching now, like, is there a point where they get turned over to junior high? I mean, they're going to go there
our kids are
separately?
not sports kids, so we are not in that world.
Yes, like our kids never really did any sports at all.
Right.
Growing
No,
up.
that's not true. Our daughter played basketball, and Ben went to like 2 wrestling practices when he was in kindergarten.
Our daughter played basketball. I'm a very competitive person. Like
I can tell, Jeff.
I cannot play a game if we're not keeping score.
Yeah.
Like she'd want to go out. Oh, let's just play tennis and hit. Like it's not in me. I need to have a winner and a loser for me.
Yep.
So I remember our daughter was playing. We lived in Altoona in Des Moines at the time at the Altoona campus, just a youth basketball thing. And I told her, now listen, this is about winning and losing.
They didn't keep score.
Score, right? Oh, everybody needs a shot and
pass it 5 times.
Yes.
Like if you didn't,
just great. It's the foundation.
But to me,
it's
like
Mike Riley. Yeah, no, I got you. Sorry, my bad.
So let's just have fun. Doesn't matter if we win or lose or not. But yeah, they didn't keep score, and so she had told the coach what I said. Right? Now I'm kind of glad that my kids, like, I would probably be, like, it was hard for me to like watch a practice and be quiet.
Yeah.
Or a game, right? I'd be like one of those. I would be an obnoxious parent that would think they know everything. That's what I would have been.
Yeah. Or maybe you would have ended up coaching and been a coach.
Our kids just never really like took any interest in sports or anything,
No.
which is fine. As with our jobs at the gym and stuff, like we wouldn't have had really the time to be shuffling them back and forth. Now, when we have grandkids, they're going to be in this.
Fine.
And this,
They might not want to because I bet Ben will probably want his kids to do something.
We'll take practices. There you go.
Like our son's in band, which is very similar. It's the same thing. It's still the team. You're all together. You're
accountability.
Right. Yeah. They're all so similar. You just have to find what's a good fit for your.
Well, and the kids did do some theater.
Yes,
so they were
did
really
theater.
like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So like they weren't really in sports, but for about 3 years
Yeah.
they did like musicals and stuff at the Altoona Kids
Cap theater. But
Cap theater. So we always thought that was kind of like teaching the same thing as sports,
Absolutely.
like teamwork,
being in the spotlight, getting over those nerves. So yeah, that was. I mean, you just have to know your kid. But anyway, back to do you even remember what your question was?
Middle school. When do we send
what
them?
happens?
Yeah, back to the yeah. So
I love this. We're having a day. I love this.
This is not a day. This is normal. But
we just kind of are all over the place. So I mean, it's amazing that DP still lets us be on the radio. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so yeah, like so you've been with them for 5 years. Does there come a point where they're going to go off onto their own schools, and then you're going to start over with new kids, or like?
I don't know, man. The first part of the question, the Sox organization, youth select baseball typically is going to be, 8U through 14U. And so that encompasses at Norris anyway. I can only speak for that because that's where my kids go, my actual kids. So I think it's elementary, intermediate, middle, then high, right? So way different than Western Nebraska where it was 3 schools, boom, 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 and you're gone. So they'll stay with us. Hopefully, if we do it the way that we should as coaches, the definition of success is, hey, we want to play for you next year. Hey, we want to come back and you're doing the right things. And my kid is loving it. After 14U, then they all kind of go off to their own high schools or Legion and do their thing. But I mean, for the majority of our kids, I do believe a lot of them are in the same little area or district, and I have no idea how Lincoln Public Schools works. That I'm pretty sure they can just go wherever now. I don't know. I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happens there, but for the majority of them, they will go to the same school. We've got like the kids that live in my town, Hickman, that'll go to Norris and all that. But ideally, for me, the goal has always been high school. The goal has always been Legion. All we had in Lexington, Western Nebraska was, I'll call it Pony League and Little League, and then you went to Legion. So when I moved up here, this was this was bananas. I was
Right.
like, wait, you pay to play? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, it's this much money to do this for what? For 3 months? So I get the parent side of it now, you know, and I also get being the dad on the other side of the fence now. I did not know or understand that. I did not give our parents enough credit to be able to let go, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's hats off to them, because that is not easy. I catch myself pacing at 9U soccer games, being like, "Come on, Maddie, you got this, Mads. Come on, Maddie, fire up!" Or just, and I don't know soccer, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so for the parent side of things, you guys don't get enough credit. I've never given our parent group enough credit, and now I'm starting to see I have to take Madison to Norris. I got to take Grayson to Hickman here. I got to go to my practice. So the running around thing, man, it takes a village, and a lot of that is that family aspect.
Right.
If you get the right coaching staff and the right parents and the right kids, where you're going to carpool, and it's not even a question.
Yeah.
Hey, we're heading this way, and you guys are going this. I see it every day. I love it, man. That to me is bigger than baseball. The parents would not know a lot of those parents would not know each other, and those kids dang sure wouldn't know each other without this community. So a tangent. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's
so
good.
now, is your team? Do they? This is this thing. I mean, and
Yes,
this isn't.
You're being competitive.
This isn't. No, this is an average Jeff question.
Okay, yeah, we don't say average Joe's. It's average Jeff.
So I'm thinking like Little League World Series, right?
That's not real baseball. Go on.
No, I'm just like. So does your like? So the Sox they aren't like in playing to qualify for anything like that, right?
Oh
like,
yeah, baby.
Okay. See, that's where I was going. Like, because you see, like, like the little cities, like, okay, so
wasn't there a city in Nebraska that was
so I'm kind of fascinated about that. Like, so like, how do you get to that level? Like your team in the Little League World Series, is there like a tournament that starts? Everybody's like going.
Harrison, can you who's listening? How many people are listening? I'm just kidding. So no. The Little League World Series thing. No, I thought the same thing, man. I was like, oh, that's the pinnacle. That's where we're going, baby. But then my son was watching it, and there is let me say this first. There is a team, there is an organization, there is a league for every single kid, every single level. There is something there for everybody.
Right.
My kid included, my son included. There's different levels of everything. Now, the League World Series, it was brought to my attention. They're not leading off and all that. So that it's a different level of baseball. The Sox, my team, no man, we play to compete. I don't care if you're playing checkers. I don't care if you're playing Connect Four.
That's me, right?
If you're playing catch, you are competing against the dude that you were yesterday. And I'm dead serious about that. Like I don't let Madison, my daughter, beat me at checkers, and it makes her angry.
I was the same way.
But I'm not gonna. Dude, I was listening to you on the way in. You were talking about knowing the rosters. Growing up, like it was a rivalry because you knew who they were.
Yes.
I mean, it's you know what? Kind of hard here. I'll go there.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't want these kids that I'm coaching. They're going to go to an interview one day, or they're going to be somebody interviewing somebody someday. I want them to have that same mentality I call it the dog mentality. You know what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to compete, and you're going to hire me because I put the work in.
Yeah. So you're saying like that level is a little maybe more cultivated, and you want it to be more organic. Like yeah.
So we qualify. We play state. There, in my mind, is you are leading up for that end tournament because when I was 12, I wanted to play for something.
Yeah,
here's your 4th place medal. Nah, man. Like, okay,
that wasn't me.
And that's not the kids that I want to. That's not the type of mentality I want to help mentor and help raise in a way. I want them to. I earned that. And so to answer your question, it is very competitive, and they are absolutely playing for something. And there was a tournament where they tried to give us a 4th place trophy, and I looked at coach. I should have name dropped. I looked at one of our coaches and goes, "No, man, you can give that to your son. You can give that to the bad boy that for showing up and being here to help. It's you know what, it's bigger than baseball, man. I love it.
Our son is not dragging me, but like a couple years ago, we found out he was a huge baseball fan. Like, we didn't even know, right? So, like, I'm a Cardinals fan, right? Now I can't tell you 4 players that play for the
You own
Cardinals.
0 Cardinals anything,
Yeah, but
clothing,
like
memorabilia, nothing.
back when I lived in Missouri for a little while in '87 when they played in the World Series. So it's like, Ozzie Smith and like Willis or Willie McGee and like those names like back then. So I've just kind of always been a Cardinals fan. They'd be like 5th or 6th on my pecking order, right? You got Husker football and then the Bears and then everything else is blended together. Okay. So Ben, he's a big Ravens fan, Baltimore Ravens. It's his favorite football team. And we'll get into we'll talk sports here in this next segment. And we're talking sports now, but we'll talk other sports. Zoom out. Yeah. So big Ravens fan. All of a sudden he's an Orioles fan. Like, where did this come from?
Well,
they're terrible,
yeah.
right? So last year I took him to a Orioles game down in Kansas City. And he just loved it.
Yeah.
So the place was pretty much empty. So we like upgraded our tickets. We were like 3 rows behind the Orioles dugout. So, and he knew every player for the Orioles. I didn't know anybody. And then so they had like one of the best records from the time we saw them play in Kansas City to the end of the season. So he's getting me wrapped into this, right? Into watching more baseball. That's kind of what I'm getting to.
Baby Ben.
Yeah.
Baby Ben.
So we're already talking about going down to see the Orioles play the Royals. They play like first week in May. Maybe see 1 or 2 games, but so yeah, he's got me. So now he's like talks about it. And so I'm getting more and more involved in baseball.
That's amazing. And you know what's crazy is that's your son?
Yeah. Yeah.
And all the talk about we need to change this and we need to change that to get the younger generation involved. I get it's a long game. I understand it. And I also understand that it is an individualist team sport, so that's incredible. Off air, we should talk more about that. I want to know about the games and all. I've never been to a Royals game.
Okay.
I've been to one professional baseball game that was Yankees versus Red Sox for our anniversary in New York. It went 14 innings. I got to see Big Poppy play. It was great.
We went to a Cardinals-Yankees game with my brother-in-law and sister, and they're Yankees fans. It was at the old Busch Stadium, and of course, I think all the Cardinals' main players were resting, so they lost the game we were at. But we got to see A-Rod and Jeter, and so that was kind of cool. But that's kind of where I was going with this.
I don't know.
I have that effect on people.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just mesmerized. No.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Oh, I was gonna tell you. So yeah, huge sports fan, and we're talking about baseball, how it's a little bit slower and stuff. But I'll tell you, the most nervous I have ever been watching a sporting event where I'm just like so just on edge. And Nicole hates it when I remember these things from a long time ago because she'll ask me to bring something home from the gym and I'll forget.
Multiple days in a row.
Within 10 minutes, I forget already.
Yeah.
But when the Cardinals won their first World Series in 2006, they were playing the Mets, and it was Game 7.
Fun fact, I was in the hospital.
No, this was before you were in the hospital.
You said 2006.
We weren't in the World Series yet.
Oh, okay.
This was the National League Championship Series.
Oh, okay.
Carlos Beltran was at the plate. The bases were loaded. The Cardinals had like a 3-run lead. And the year before, Carlos Beltran played for the Astros, and he was like the Cardinal killer. Like every freaking time he got up to bat, base hit, stole second, scored almost every time. So I remember like watching the bottom of the 9th in New York, like on slow motion, the pitch, like, like
man,
here it comes, and the Cardinals won. And they actually won the World Series on October 27th, 2006. That was the day our son was born. Holy smokes. They beat the Tigers and won the World Series. So she was at the hospital. Ben was in the hospital. I was at home watching the Cardinals win the World Series.
He was at home because he was at home with our daughter, though, not because of the World
Series. You should have led with that, Joe.
I know.
I said leave him there.
He was home with
Bigger than baseball.
with our toddler.
I've got a book.
It was approved. It was mother approved that he did not need to be at the hospital. Plus, I probably didn't want to watch the game either. But
for those that are like you're saying, it's a little bit slower. And yes, when I watch a game and we were at the Royals, and I was like, okay, here's a pitch. But when it gets to be like 3-2 count, I mean, then it gets to be exciting.
It's the hardest game in the world, man.
Well, I mean, I played one career softball game, slow pitch softball. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
Just whiff.
That's my baseball
Dugout
career.
guy. You were a dugout guy. You were there.
He was just a backup. That's all. He was like a fill-in.
I was playing catcher. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just a fill-in. I remember somebody just whipped
then
the
he was
ball to me
never
at home, and
asked
I'm like,
again.
oh my God. Oh my God.
It's your turn, Jeff. It's your time,
But
baby.
I caught the ball. That was exciting. So
So we
that's
have
my
to take a
baseball
break,
career.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. So we're going to take a break. We're going to talk NFL with Coach Wheeler coming up on the flip side. So stay with us on 93.7 The Tickets, Fitness Fanatics.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know. Don't sleep on that date nut bread. Not too sweet, nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for self and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and the station.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs and dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I'm Christian Academic. I served in the United States Air Force, deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is "My job is people, everyone is my business." But unfortunately, in that year, I would lose my own brother, Corporal Adam Jackman, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credit away from completing school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter, she's been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Heartland International in Lincoln reminds us people today are facing more hardships than ever before. It's becoming all too common to hear that someone has become so desperate they're taking their own life. People almost always warn those close to them that desperation is near. Be a shoulder to lean on and insist that seek professional help. This message from Dennis and Penny Nunn at Heartland International. Marketing 1974, heartlandinternational.com. We're stronger when we help one another.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back?
Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
I'm Jenny Benn, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. The best way to strengthen our economy for the long term is investing in our education system and raising the skills of American workers. To succeed in the global economy, we need to modernize our schools, hire excellent teachers, and focus on the future. Support great public schools, and we can make the good life even better.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association. Aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into the Fitness Fanatics. We got about 5-6 minutes. I'm going to do a little. Now, I know that one of the main reasons Coach Taylor wanted to come in here was to talk sports. I mean, we are on a sports station. So
Matt from Hickman, is that what you're?
You're a texter.
Texter?
Matt, okay.
Yeah.
Matt from Hickman.
Right.
So if you ever listen to Sip and Jake, he texts in. So when they say Matt Hickman, now you can put a face with a texting name, which is cool. We have a ton of texters that go to Farrell's, like Cheeseburger. You know who that is? Yeah. So I see him all the time.
Yeah.
We have, who else do we got? Our texters. We got Bubba.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's listening, shout out to Bubba.
Pork chop's wife.
Pecan pie's wife.
Pecan pie.
Oh,
yeah, pecan pie. Pork chop. Yeah, you're right.
Pork chop goes.
So yeah, you're right. You're right.
So yeah,
pecan pie.
a lot of
Pecan
texters that come and stuff.
Excuse
So
me for not knowing. Everyone's texting.
I
me.
mean, I know. Well, I listen more than you do.
I know.
So
yeah.
Okay, so championship weekend. We got 2 games coming up. So we're gonna get your expert opinion and see who you think's going to make it. So game 1 starts at 2:00 today. We have the Niners at the Eagles. What's your quick synopsis of this game? Preview for us.
Quick synopsis. I think Mr. Irrelevant comes out and he shows everybody, and he comes and he earns that title of that starting quarterback spot somewhere, whether that's at 49ers or not. I think that guy is a dog, and I think the 49ers show. The McCaffrey-Purdy connection sounds real good, and it sounds like something that could have happened at Nebraska. Purdy, McCaffrey. Anyways,
Chubba and Dylan.
Yeah. Right.
Dylan, Luke.
Yeah.
Could have happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a big underdog guy, and I think the Eagles are already looking past this game. So I think the 49ers have some dog and some grit in them. I think they pull it out.
I hope so.
So no fear of Purdy going, it's a big spot, tough to win in Philly. The fans are just the absolute maniacs there. And he's been kind of flawless. Well, now last week it's Dallas. He did have an interception that was dropped. And then the next play they scored on a McCaffrey touchdown run. So any nerves? I mean, I know going to Philly is not like going to Kinnick Stadium, like that type of raucous environment when Purdy was at Iowa State, which he was 0-3 against Iowa, I believe. So, but anyway, no fear of that. Like, he's been just great, and like maybe this could be the game or do you think the Niners just have too many weapons where he could just throw it up to McCaffrey or Debo or Ayuk or Kittle? Like,
I don't know. I think what it really comes down to is changing what the Eagles think you're going to do, and we talk a lot about making the changes at halftime and adjustments and all that. I think Purdy has nothing to lose here, and it's not a one-man show and all that, but you got some dogs around you, and I think you came into this as the third-string quarterback. You go out, and he's going to go out and ball because that's, I think, mentality of the family. I don't obviously know anything. You have nothing to lose here.
Right.
Go out and, like we tell our kids, man, play like there is no tomorrow. So I think he goes out and balls out.
I do think the pressure is more on the Eagles. I mean, being at home, they're the favorite, and Purdy, he literally has nothing to lose. Now, if we're following the Brady script, which just kind of has a feel to it, right? The starter got hurt, some irrelevant guy, nobody even cared who Tom Brady was. And Brady's going to be annoyed at this too, but in Brady's first Super Bowl run, he got hurt in the AFC title game. Bledsoe came in, led them to the victory, and then there was like, okay, who's going to start in the Super Bowl? Bledsoe or Brady? And Brady got the start. So maybe Purdy gets a little dinged up. Garoppolo comes in, wins the game, and then it's like, who's going to start? That'd be a kind of an eerie parallel to Purdy and Brady. Wouldn't that be weird? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty set. I think it's gonna be Eagles Chiefs. I'm feeling pretty set on that.
Okay, so you're on the Eagles. This is one of those games where I was like, I don't know who's going to win, which makes it great.
The storylines
Yes,
this
it's
year,
great.
man. Talk about like if you were a conspiracy guy, this is your year, man. This is your year, straight up. I love it.
Game 2, which most people in this area care about, just for a lot of reasons. Bengals Chiefs, the rematch. What are your thoughts on that?
Shout out to Daddy Burrow. I don't know if I can say that on air the way my wife says it at the house, but shout out Joe Cool. Listen, I have to go to a practice today, so I have to acknowledge that the Kansas City Chiefs are a great football team because a lot of our team loves the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But that being said, I want a Bengals 49ers Super Bowl.
I mean, who would? That just sounds weird. It doesn't even sound like a Super Bowl.
That brings some of us back to our childhood days.
Yeah.
We remember watching the Niners and the Bengals.
No,
in
we're
Super
the
Bowl.
oldest people in the room, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't even think they were born when that Super Bowl happened, but I remember it. I think it would be cool to see an Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl, the Andy Reid factor.
Yeah.
You know
Didn't
how
even think about that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of storylines.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not on sports radio all the time.
Yeah.
that'd be kind of cool too. Andy Reid coached the Eagles to 5 NFC championship games, and he only won 1, right? So this is his 5th AFC championship game with the Chiefs, 2-2 so far. So we'll see if he gets that going 2-3 or 3-2. So Scott texted, and I think he's talking about the game in Philly. It's going to be 53 degrees in Philly today. So
nice weather.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah,
there.
I
Okay,
believe so.
Okay,
Nice.
so no
There won't be a
issue,
factor. Yeah.
no weather issue.
Which I love a
for the
good
Niners.
snowy game. That's always kind of fun when weather can be a factor. Yeah.
And then Greg and
Like that.
Lincoln, 1981, Kenny Anderson, Joe Montana. 81 game, I was 3, so I don't remember that. But I do remember the second game. I would have been like 3rd grade, and Montana hit Taylor for the game winner. So I do remember that. That's one of the first Super Bowls that I can consciously remember watching. So, and I always like the Niners uniforms. That brings me back to when I was a kid too. So, all right. So we're going to take a break here. Top of the hour, we're going to talk about Matt's health and fitness journey. You won't want to miss it. So stay tuned. 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
Every child has the ability to be successful and thrive in life, but sometimes they need your help. Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lincoln explore their potential by making meaningful matches between adult volunteer and young people. Right now, there are children just waiting for a mentor to step up and impacting their lives. Learn more online at bbbslincoln.org. There are kids right here in Lincoln waiting to get started. Volunteer today and start something big.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated by a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful. I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman. Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
For sure.
Starter Heyman Jewelry, Lincoln and Grand Island. StarterHeyman.com.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I knew that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. The support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards on 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. Friday morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full time, and I was also caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partner.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Welcome into Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now here are your hosts, Jeff and Nicole Essig.
All right, welcome in hour 2 here on the Fitness Fanatics. If you missed any part of the show, you can go back, check us out on the podcast at theticketfm.com. We're under the Ticket Weeknights Weekend tab under the Fitness Fanatics. We've been joined in studio here by Matthew Taylor, Coach Taylor. Main reason we had him come in because he has an amazing transformation story. So we're going to talk about that on this next segment. So Matt, take us back. What I want to know is like how long ago did your weight loss journey, not just weight, but lifestyle journey start? Like take us to when it was like, okay, I've had enough. I need to do something. And then just kind of walk us through like what happened and how did you get to be who you are today?
So starting, I'm going on I just came up on my 8th year of sobriety. That funny enough, or not funny enough, I guess, coincidental enough, when I went sober, I put on a whole bunch of weight. I became, I think the last time I weighed myself, it was 357 pounds. As of yesterday, I'm about 100, walking around 187, 189. The sobriety thing was something that needed to happen. It was something that I don't have any DUIs or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't necessarily forced into the situation. But as far as the weight loss goes, I looked in the mirror, man. I really did. I would take my daughter to drop her off at school, and I would hear kids laughing, giggling, and kids are brutally mean. And I was one of those kids. And so obviously selfishly, I wanted to get better for me. I wanted to lose the weight for me, but I also it came to the point where I was huffing and puffing just walking up and down the stairs, man. I'm not a smoker or anything like that, so it was my body. It was the things I did to myself.
Was this before you were coaching? Or was it
Uh,
right around the
it
same?
was the first year.
Okay.
There's pictures out of so it was year 2 of coaching.
Okay.
My first year with the Sox, second year of coaching, and I was getting out with 8-year-olds,
Mhm.
and they were lapping me, So, uh, yeah, I needed to make a change for my family. I wanted to make sure that I was there to walk my daughter down the aisle. At the end of the day, and I get emotional thinking about it, like what could have been if I didn't hit rock bottom.
Mhm.
Rock bottom is different for everybody now.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're thrown in a jail cell or you're arrested. I mean, rock bottom is simply I'm done.
Right.
I'm done. I'm done feeling this way. I'm done having 37 alarms go off because I don't want to roll over.
Mhm.
Like, and if you're gonna lead and if you're gonna be a mentor, I am a firm believer that if you want people to listen to your message, there's a difference between a boss and a leader. I texted you that the other day. Great
Mhm.
show last week, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
That was incredible.
Mhm.
If you're gonna lead, you need to do it by example.
Right.
I'm not gonna look at your kid or that kid and be like, "Go run." Now I'm running with you. So yeah, 3 years ago, I think now I had to double check with my wife and get my dates straight
Yeah.
before I came in here.
Mhm.
I think it was 3 years ago now. I I I hit rock bottom. That was my rock.
So what was your rock bottom when it came to your sobriety? Because that's kind of important too. Like you said, you didn't have that like DUI moment or whatever. And I know we're coming up on the end of driving January, if people had chose to do that, that's something that's kind of popular. What made you decide that that was like kind of your first thing that you just, if you don't mind talking about
Yeah,
that?
no, absolutely. So I started really talking about my message and the sobriety with the fentanyl crisis that's happening.
Mhm.
I was very silent. I was a silent fighter is what I'll call it. I didn't want people to know. I didn't want to lose my spot in the community, I guess. And there was one day where the health department reached out, and they knew that I had went to the treatment center, and I went back and gave speeches about the success that it can have, um, and then I lost a good friend of mine, his brother. I don't call it an overdose. I call it a poisoning.
Mhm.
He died, and that was he wasn't like us growing up. He was the one driving us. He was the one hanging out and making sure we were okay. So losing somebody close to you when it hit home, it doesn't happen here. So I really started talking about it then, but it came down to my wife finding out. My daughter hadn't. I don't think she was 1 yet, and there's a picture of the day before my mom drove down from Lexington to take me to the treatment center, and there's a picture of me holding my Madison, and my eyes are sunk in. I'm skinny,
Mhm.
so hats off to that, right? No,
Yeah.
it was a disgusting skinny.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just don't look happy at all. I'm just holding her with a fake smile, and um, I texted my mom and I said I'm in trouble and I need help, and she said I knew something was up, um, and I needed you to tell me that you needed it. She drove 2.5 hours in the middle of the night, and she had me at the Lincoln Treatment Center by 5:30 the next morning. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I'll tell you this much: humbling, to say the least. Walking in with as whatever old I was, a married man with a kid of my own, holding my mom's hand, crying like a baby, dude, like
Mhm.
crying like a baby. I knew that was it. Once I told her, once I told my mom, she she is the best leader, coach, friend, person I've ever met in my life. She has been through it, knowing that I told her and that was it. That's rock bottom.
Mhm.
Like, "Hey, mom, your baby boy needs you, and
Yeah.
I have nowhere else to turn."
You knew like a dog to a bone, then she wasn't gonna let go. She
Oh
wasn't
god,
gonna
no.
give it up. Yeah.
You know what she told me? I will sure she tells me every day, my wife, Melissa, is the best thing to ever happen to my family
Mhm.
because it changed me. She changed me for the better, so
Well, I know growing up, my parents both had substance abuse problems, and, you know, If my dad had made that decision when I was a baby, my childhood would have been very different. I look back at pictures of my dad in the midst of the worst of his addictions, and it's when he was his thinnest, and everyone was like, "Wow, you look great," and I know what was happening in our house at that time, and so I think that's really important that you're still here telling that message that, there's always still more going on, and it's okay to reach out and ask for help. So I think that's really an important message because that's remember that as you go because it's a good message.
I thought I was alone.
Mhm.
Like I had barricaded myself into this room of not wanting to let people down. Like I my I went to counseling for this. You had to complete the program for about 6 months. I didn't say a word.
Mhm.
Did not say a word to my counselor. He goes, "Take the mask off. I'm not letting you out of here until you do." I'm like, "I ain't got a mask on. I'm me, baby.
Yeah.
I'm me."
Right.
He goes, "No, you're full of it and you're fake
Yeah.
and you're being a car salesman. I ain't buying a car. He's like, I
Mhm.
want to help you." Um, and I'm the best version of me that I've ever been. And I say that with full confidence. And it's because I didn't quit. Going back to the baseball thing, I could have turned around and
Yeah.
not walked into that practice. I
Yeah.
could have, and I would have. I would have. I'm telling you, man, it's you're not alone. And I get emotional thinking about it because I went through so much of it thinking I was by myself. And looking back, I had the best team. And I mean my mom,
Mhm.
my wife, my kids, like, and I grew up with what I call the seed was planted. I don't know how people look at addiction and alcoholism and hereditary or not, or learned, or nature, nurture, whatever. Like whatever, that seed was planted and I watered it.
Mhm.
I did.
Yeah.
I watered it every single day.
Yeah.
So nobody's to blame but me.
Right.
But that being said, I didn't have to do it alone, man.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
and you don't have to do it alone, and you don't have to do it alone. And it's like I want to help.
Yeah.
I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. Like I was
Right.
good.
terrified, guys. I was
Yeah.
terrified.
Yep. All right. So then back to when you started your health, your weight loss journey. So we'll talk about that because yeah, that makes sense why it kind of swung back the other way because you were, you were becoming a different version of yourself and that looked different and you probably had different coping mechanisms then when you couldn't turn to, the things you were using before. So how so tell us about that rock bottom.
Yeah.
There you can hit rock bottom in so many
It's
ways.
crazy.
Right. Financially, people hit rock bottom, like our health hits rock bottom. It happens. Like that's fine. That's what you do when you're down there.
Yeah. So I just gave up everything I knew and loved
Mhm.
in food and
Yeah.
drink.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
What's crazy is the keto diet, or I'm air quoting for people that are listening.
Mhm.
The keto diet. Uh, to me, it was a lifestyle change. But I'd done a lot of research into it helping with autism and everything.
It
Everything.
helps with substance abuse too,
I
which
didn't
totally
know
makes
that.
sense. Yeah.
I didn't
Mhm.
know that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the addict in me
Mhm.
went full go.
Yeah.
Right. The first week I'd lost 7 pounds, and all that was water, or
Yeah.
retention weight.
Yeah.
So what? Let's hit this before I forget. It's low in 25 grams of carbs a day is what I set myself to.
Mhm.
I didn't know about the macro carbs, so that was total carbs. So
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Ne-
Yes, little to no sugar, and you find out that sugar's in everything,
Yeah.
literally everything.
Mhm.
And so it was high in fat, low in carbs. So your body in turn is burning the fat for energy instead of carbs and sugar.
Mhm.
It's the short of it. So I ate like a caveman for a little bit. A lot of meat, a lot of fat, and just stopped drinking soda. I already gave up alcohol at that point, and I instead of going out and having a candy bar or something like that, I would come home and I would make my own food. The
Mhm.
the processed food, and what I hate about this conversation is so expensive right now to eat healthy, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way. Like if you want to help people, you won't make money helping people, right? If you want
Right.
to eat healthy,
Right.
it's going to cost you a lot to do so. That's not
Yeah.
the case.
Yep.
You can go to these restaurants and order whatever you want. Just get it without a bun, no ketchup, and take it home.
Mhm.
So essentially, what I did was change everything that I was doing, flip it, and make everything in a positive manner. I got up earlier. I went to bed earlier. I started. I never really worked out, and so when people say I don't have time to work out, that drives me bananas.
Mhm.
It's you know, just stop. Don't blame everybody else. A little bit of accountability on what you're intaking will
Yeah.
go a long way.
Yeah.
You have control of what you can control, and
Mhm.
what you're putting in your body is what you can control.
Yeah.
Well, and we tell our members that 70% of your results are what you're eating.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you could do an hour-long workout, a 2-hour workout, and if you're hitting up McDonald's right afterwards, or you're not going to see really any changes. I mean, you might get a little stronger, but as far as like looking different, because it's 70% of what you're eating. So if you can control that, that's the first thing
Yeah.
to take care of is what your nutrition is. So so this was 3 years ago that you started this,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So like what made you decide to like do the keto route?
Yeah.
Because there's so many different there's so many different like meal plans and this and that, and I mean stuff that are is just some crazy stuff. But like what made you decide to go that route?
Yeah. I love to eat meat,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
there isn't a
Yes.
diet in the world I could do, or a lifestyle change that I could make without being able to eat a steak or a burger or
Right.
chicken or wings.
Bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Dude, and bacon
Eggs,
is one of the
bacon.
biggest things that I read in the research for this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Avocado, guacamole, bacon. So that's why I chose this. My mom growing up did a lot of the Atkins thing, and I would see it come and go. She would fluctuate a lot.
Yes.
And I wanted something to where that going back to where I don't think having the addictive personality is such a bad thing.
Yeah.
I wanted something I could do forever. And the research that I did and the blood work, I've had blood work done since then, and they've said you look great.
Yeah.
Not body wise, your
Right.
test results look great.
Well, and I think it's important for listeners to hear like what we talk about with our nutrition plan with Farrell's, which is very balanced, counting macros, or even keto. Though you have to find what works for you.
Absolutely.
And some people, if you have a history of, high cholesterol or a history of heart disease and all this stuff, maybe keto's not the best for
Amen.
you, but it's not something that you should be going back and forth. It's not something you should be flip-flopping, like try something for 2-3 weeks. And then once you start to lose some of that results or things start to get away, then go to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. That's why talking to you and talking about keto, which can be controversial sometimes, what we wanted to talk about is someone who's done it and done it consistently for years and years and years. And that's not always possible for people. And if that's not, then it's not the right fit. We recommend that our members count macros. Well, if you have a history of disordered eating, that can go south really quickly where you're just become really obsessive about those numbers. So that's not for everybody. So it's really important that you looked at what you could do that would be most successful for you. And then what more importantly than that is you've gone the step further where you've done it for years now. You are doing it in conjunction with your healthcare provider. So you know that you're doing that stuff. And I think that that's the key that's missing when people are really trying to find kind of what works for them. So I think that's kind of a really great way to, approach that. So how long did you do this diet and you were the lifestyle, the diet? How long until like you started plateauing, as they
Yeah,
say,
no, that's a big deal. That
Right.
is, yeah. To piggyback on that, first thing I noticed about you is that you're standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's simple stuff.
Right.
The little things in life. When I started to plateau, it was about 6 months into it, and then that's when I started doing the macros.
Mhm.
Because to that point, I was just doing total carb count.
Yeah.
And you are going to plateau. You're going to plateau
No matter
in life.
what you're doing. Yes.
In life.
Yes. Yes.
And then I started doing the 10,000 steps.
Mhm.
Then I started getting the watch isn't on.
Uh-oh.
Then I started doing the Fitbit thing.
Yeah.
It's and since that, adding movement,
Yeah.
just standing or going for a walk or going to fill up water, that helps. So about 6
does.
months into it, I had to make a change.
So
And-
was there a time where you're like, well, this isn't working for me?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
About a year and a half ago, about a year and a half into it, I guess I should say,
Yeah.
I plateaued and I hit a wall.
Mhm.
And then I started doing more research about a reset. And hey, I never had a cheat day. Keep that in mind.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's okay. I don't suggest that for people.
Mhm.
That's just what worked for me.
Yeah, that's
Well-
what we say that too. You got to find what works,
Right.
because
Because
with
like
that.
now my brother, I know he's not listening, but he's a smoker, right? So whenever I would talk to him about the Farrell's nutrition plan and our philosophy of having a free day.
Yeah.
Like in his mind, well, he would tell me, okay, if I'm going to quit smoking, I'm not going to smoke on Sunday.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That was in his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So trying to find what what works for you. Like, yeah, if you know yourself where if you have a free day or a cheat day, it's going to turn into a cheat 5 years.
Right. Then that's not, then likely you're not, this is what we tell our people, you're likely not eating enough during the week that if it becomes out of control on the weekends. And that's what we try to tell people, like, make it be, we say cheat, we call it a fun day, but people really dog on that cheat meal. But you know what? If you're a type of person who's rebellious, thinking of it as a cheat day, that might actually help you. Like
Trophy.
right.
It's a carrot,
Yeah.
man, at the
Like,
end of the tunnel.
no, I am a rule follower. So a cheat meal to me makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong. Like I am bad. So I don't call it that because that's my personality. So again, knowing yourself is so important, and it's not zooming right in on that one day. It's zooming out. And what did the 5 days before that look like? Are you starving yourself all week long because you have this day coming up, then that's not healthy,
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. It's you got to know yourself. That's all. But yeah.
Yeah, tying it back to the baseball thing, I feel like if you put the work in, then you do earn. I'm different than a lot of the people that I'm helping with this lifestyle now. So
Yeah.
like I try to individualize, and I am trying to branch out and help people that I can,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I'm doing
You're
just
like the expert now. So if someone wants to talk about it, you're the person they should talk to, not the person who's done it for 3 weeks and lost, whatever, but they don't know if they can sustain it. Like you're the expert.
and I come from a place of failure. That I mean, you either win or you learn in life,
Mhm.
and I come from a place of where I was broken.
Mhm.
So the way I see it, look, I saw so many celebrities and commercials and the miracle diet and the miracle pill and this and that and this and that and that. Like, and then finally I was like, there needs to be somebody for me like me.
Yeah.
Somebody that's just a guy. That's
Yeah.
just one of us.
Yep.
you
Yeah.
know?
But that's really important. So you kind of hit the wall, the plateau, which is normal, like think about it like instead of thinking of it as a plateau, think of it as like cruise control. You cruise control for a little bit, and that's great. You don't have to, but then inevitably those hills are going to come back. So how'd you overcome that? We were talking about that, but go continue.
Yes, no, the support system, the
Mhm.
support team. Honestly, my partner, my wife, my ride or die, the Bonnie, my Clyde, or whatever, she has been phenomenal. And you're again going back to you're not alone. The people at Farrell's have you guys,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I've never been through the program, but I'm assuming if they reached out, if
Yeah.
I text you, you text back right away. If
Yeah.
I would message you, you message me.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if they need something, you guys have people in place. And it's as simple as a conversation.
Yeah.
How did I do it? I incorporated exercise. I
Mhm.
wasn't exercising to that point, and I had lost 100 pounds almost at the year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I kicked it back into gear, and now I'm starting to incorporate weights, and I want to mass up a little bit more, and that's another
Right.
challenge. I'm
Right.
throwing a wrench into it, man. I'm
Yeah.
throwing a curveball or a changeup when it's fastball, fastball, fastball. I
Mhm.
want to see if I can,
Yeah.
and I know I can. So
Because and I can't like focus on this enough. It's because you put the time in. Like that's like expecting someone to come in and it's their first year in baseball and expecting to get to the championship game. Like you put in the time and the effort to learn about yourself. The other thing, because we talk about this with Mark in his transformation with Farrell's, he's doing the national challenge. I think what's so important, we don't stick with stuff long enough. And I think the big thing is like for your transformation, for Mark's transformation, especially the way that when you have kids and school and summers off and baseball season and the off season, like you really have to give yourself a year plus. You have to go through each of those seasons of your life because we see that a lot in our program. Our summer session is a really tricky one when our members go from their summer routines with their kids to going back to school, and they will put themselves on the back burner immediately because, routines changed up. And so you going through that for a whole year, you've navigated the holidays. You've navigated, you could have started in January and then it'd be smooth sailing till the summer, And then all the barbecues happen, and you could have just, not learned how to navigate through the summer or through the holidays. So I think that's really important too, that you gave that time to really make it fit into every part of your life, not that snapshot of your life. And I think that's what's missing with a lot of people.
It's that instant gratification
Yeah.
world that we're living in. And, doing this and trying to help people do this, talking about it being individualized for them, what I did not happen overnight. It did not happen in 6 weeks. It did not happen in 6 months. It is a continuing thing. And to go to your point with the kids and all that, who are you doing this for? If it should be you first.
Yeah.
And your kids look at you every day.
Mhm.
Okay, maybe let's use your wife if you don't have kids. Let's use your best friend. Let's use your mother who gave you birth. They look at you every day. So if you are truly doing it for you, then it shouldn't be a question of, hey, it's this season and this season. I get that though. I did COVID.
Right.
I did it through COVID where we didn't really know anything.
Yeah.
Everything was different.
Yes.
Than it was now. So, the excuse factor, that's what it is. It
Yeah.
is an excuse. Life is hard.
Mhm.
Life is hard. If you can transform your body, the rest of it's going to be, life will not be as hard as you're making it out to be. If
Right.
you can physically change your physical being, which will help your mental side of it, your bad days won't be that bad. I promise.
Yeah.
I promise.
All right, we're up
Break.
against the break. We'll keep this conversation going here when
Mhm.
we come back. So don't go anywhere on 93.7 The Ticket.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice the 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
Not for extra spending, but to help feed his little sisters.
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up for school activity, not to friends, just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Bank Strong, and the Ad Council.
Do you remember your favorite teacher? I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Teachers push students to do their best and help kids when they struggle. They make their classrooms welcoming and safe for all students. They create engaging lessons that help students access complex concepts and make connections. Support our public school teachers and students. Help make this the best school year yet.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 20, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
And I found that I was pregnant. I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them, or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. You just look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, we all do a little, we change a lot.
You talk and they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS, with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and the station.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone is buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me, and
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWreck.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to the Fitness Fanatics. We're winding down. Got about 30 minutes left with you today. Nicole, you kind of wanted to talk to Matt. I know I've called him Matthew, Matt.
Yeah.
Coach
What do you
Taylor.
go by for like real life?
Matthew.
Matthew. Okay.
Okay. So you had a subject you wanted to talk to Matthew about. So I'll let you kind of take this over.
Yeah. So I've had friends, throughout barrels had really big transformations, and I think something that I think it's really important to talk about, because we always that biggest loser mentality where we highlight the loss and we highlight all the great parts, but it's really important to talk about the hard parts too. So then when people run into that, then like you said, they know they're not alone. So I know I've had friends that have had drastic weight loss, and I think one of the things that they didn't expect to happen was that the fear of gaining the weight back, that body dysmorphia, where you feel like you don't see what other people see. Have you dealt with that during your 3 years, and how have you kind of navigated that?
Yes, ma'am. I do want to ask you guys about Biggest Loser before this is all done.
Yeah.
Maybe off air, what you think of it.
Okay.
As far as the thinking about, I think about it every day. I do, and again, it's going to be different for every person. But for me to navigate through that, I use my team as far as my support team. A lot of it, and they are constantly reminded me that you did this, I didn't do this, you did this. And so for your friends as well, I would remind them that you put the work in.
Yeah.
You are the one that made all this happen. We as helpers, mentors, coaches, whatever we are, we're just helping you with the tools to succeed. I think about gaining it back constantly. I do, and I don't want to hide that, because we're all real people and we're humans, but it's a constant reminder. I make it a point to talk to myself. I do in the mornings, and you would think I'm the
You're
craziest
around.
person.
No. Okay. It's crazy that we think that we shouldn't talk to ourselves. Can you imagine being in a room with your wife all day long and not saying any words to her? Like, you're with yourself all the time. You are the person you should be talking to the most.
Yeah.
Like, so it's crazy that people don't think about that internal dialogue. So yeah.
And I think a lot of it goes to that instant gratification too. I mean, if there was a magic pill, and we could all take it and we could transform our bodies, and we didn't have to go to Farrell's, or we didn't listen into people that have been through it, I think the weight gain would happen at a faster rate, and it would happen more often.
Yeah.
But I would remind the people that have put in the work to get to this point that it took a long time for you to get here. If you fall off, we're going to have bumps in the road. If you have yourself a reward day, we'll call it, you shouldn't be scared that tomorrow you're going to put back on 150 pounds.
Right.
It took a lot of work to get here. It did.
Yes.
And, I don't know, talking to myself a lot and reminding myself that I did it, and, and now I'm here to help other people. And, look at my kids. I really do. And they are so proud of me. And that alone, man, that alone is big time. And that's enough to know that I'll never fall off the wagon. I won't relapse. I know it's okay if you do. I understand that, but I won't.
Right.
It's just
And like you said, it took you a year and a half or whatever to lose over 100 pounds, and to get to now a place where you're maintaining and now wanting to try like bulking up or lifting heavy. But it's like, you said, you're not going to wake up and be that person overnight. So I think a lot of times when we have our members that, they kind of stop coming and then they use that as that like negative talk to themselves about like, oh, I'm just really disappointed on what I've done and how I've gotten back to this. But it's like constantly reminding yourself if you've done it before, you can do it again. Like that, the fact that you've done it before means you know what to do. You just have to do it. And so I think that part we kind of, I say a lot on the show, we're easy on ourselves self about the things that we can't control, or how do I say that? Or is it the other way around? We're hard on ourselves about the things we can't control. We're easy on ourselves about the things we can
Right.
control.
We can
Right.
control what
Yeah.
we're eating.
Right.
We can control working out, but
Yeah.
we're easy on ourselves. But what we're hard on ourselves
Yeah.
is like
The small fluctuations, the
Yes.
little things. Women, especially, because we have very different hormonal profiles about, month to month, week to week in 1 month, and we can be really hard on ourselves about that. We can't control that. That's why, I liked what Jordan last week said was where you're looking at something from day to day, but you're comparing month to month, to quarter, to year, and that's where you're gonna see that success instead of being really hard on yourselves on those little tiny things. Like you eat a bunch of bacon one day, you're gonna be up a little bit because that's a lot of sodium. You're gonna, right. You're gonna be up a little bit. If you eat less bacon the next day, you're probably gonna go to the bathroom a lot and lose a lot of that water weight, and then magically you'll be down. Well, it's not that's not what it wasn't fat.
What do you guys advise your team? I haven't asked you guys anything. What do you
Yeah.
guys like as far as weigh-ins and stuff like that? Like I'm a firm believer
Mhm.
that I tell my people or whoever I'm around, I didn't weigh myself
Yeah.
for a while.
That's what I think. I think it's a tool. It's a really good tool, but I think you have to be ready to be in that headspace where you can separate the emotion from just that number. So I think for our people, we don't recommend that they weigh themselves for the first 5 weeks, and then they do their body comp again, and then we don't want them to weigh themselves again for the next 5 weeks. But once you can start to separate that emotion from that number on the scale, it can be a really useful tool. A lot of people struggle with that. If you're
Well,
just starting, it's
yes,
not, I don't
yes.
know, unless you're that super analytical type person, but weight loss and it's emotional. It's an
Well,
emotional
and
journey.
because we're in the Biggest Loser world,
Yeah.
right? So you watch the TV show and we watch it all the time. Like,
Mhm.
I really well, 2 reasons I like to watch it. One was because I was really into the emotional talks they had, like, "Why did you get this way?" Right? Like, helping to change the mentality of the person. And 2, I'd always watch the workouts because then I'd be like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
maybe I can do this in class tomorrow." So
Yeah.
those are the 2, but, yeah, watching somebody who drop 50 pounds in 2 weeks is unrealistic, and we tell
We're
our
learning a lot more about the science behind
Yes,
that, for
yes.
sure.
We tell all our members, "Hey, you're not on The Biggest Loser, right? You have a mortgage, a job, kids, stress. Nobody's preparing your meals for you. You're not working out 6 hours a day. You don't have professional people giving you massages and ice baths and recovery and, you know, take whatever, like, you don't you're in the real world,
Mhm.
right? So, yeah, you're not on The Biggest Loser. You're doing ferals. It's gonna be a little bit slower, right? Now, we can give you nutrition things to help you lose weight way faster, but we don't want that.
Right.
We want you to do it the right way
Yeah.
and the healthy way and learn something throughout the process. So yeah, you brought up The Biggest Loser. So yeah, we're not like you said, we watch the show, but
I literally just yesterday on my Facebook memories talked about The Biggest Loser, which is weird. So it was years and years and years ago. And I talked about how we watched the show a lot and I really hated the diet culture around the show. But there was one year when they completed a half marathon and I was doing ferals, but I was not a runner. And I thought, I wonder if I could do that. And I did a half marathon. And then that show that I watched that I was talking about in my memories, they had completed a triathlon. This was years in between from the half marathon one, I don't know, 6, 7 years. Since then, I had run multiple half marathons and became a triathlete too. And so I remember saying on that, like, There's a lot of really toxic stuff in that show, but if that can inspire someone to do a triathlon, then that's kind of the positive spin of it. So that's what I liked about the show. That's why I did that race with Donnie, that Dam to Dam race, whatever, because they did it on Biggest Loser. And so it's again knowing yourself and doing research. It sounds like you're definitely that analytical research person, taking that time to learn the science behind something, and if that science if that's going to work for you. And I think that's kind of where those intersect for success.
And the mental
Yeah.
game. It's such a
100%.
mental game.
Yeah.
There's not enough talk to go. Going back to the counseling I had to do. If
Mhm.
I wouldn't have done that, I don't think I would have been successful in the other aspects that it led me down. We do it in baseball. We talk about it in football. You
Yeah.
talk about it in all aspects of life, but you don't want to talk about it in your weight loss or
Yeah.
transformation of your body.
And if you think about Biggest Loser, that piece was missing.
Mhm.
And that's why almost every contestant that has ever been on that show has gained their weight back, because the mental piece was not there. Like, they took themselves out of that environment that they had gotten themselves into and transplanted themselves into an unrealistic, scenario. And then when they went back, I keep hitting the mic, sorry. When they went back, they didn't have that that mindset didn't change, and that's so hard. And I think people do need to talk to themselves more. Give yourself a pep talk. That's when my like whole thought process towards health and fitness changed, was when I used to be very critical of myself in my head. And then as my daughter got older and, when I grew up, I knew exactly parts of my mother's body that she hated. I knew what she hated about herself and how she looked. And once my daughter started getting old enough and I knew she could hear me say that about myself, that's when it changed for me. That's when it was no longer about an aesthetic. It was no longer about necessarily a number on a scale. It was about being a good role model, being healthy, and showing my daughter balance and how it's okay sometimes if something happens and you're up a little bit, then you come back down a little bit. And I think she has a pretty good kind of view of that now. She's not as critical of herself and she's not as critical of other people, because what you say about yourself, you turn that around on other people too, and then you become really judgmental. And I think that's a very toxic part of it too.
Well, we do have a couple texts. We don't get very many texts. I want to make sure I read these. So the first one was from Crowbait, who texted in a little while ago. Said, if I have a cheat day, my brain automatic says splurge.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid those. Easier said than done. Yes, it's definitely easier said than done.
Yeah.
Look, we're not all the Rock. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I can't
kidding.
consume all that.
right.
But then look back and think, if you have one weekend where you're just really out of control, probably you weren't you probably weren't eating enough during the week. Our bodies crave balance, and it will find it at whatever means possible. So
Dude,
yeah,
I eat a lot. Like, I don't want people to think
So
I
do we.
starve
Right.
myself.
Yeah.
I eat a lot.
We ask our
like
people to eat a lot.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Most of these like quote unquote quick fix diets are
Starvation diets.
800 calories,
Yeah.
Right.
1,000 calories. I'm helping my niece right now kind of work through, she needs to lose some weight. And I was talking to her and I'm like, okay, I want you to eat 1,800 calories. And it's just like, oh my
If
gosh.
you tell someone you're eating 1,800 calories to lose weight, they're going to tell you you're
That's
eating
right.
too much.
And
But
I
it's
said,
like,
yes. I was like,
Yeah.
don't listen to the experts
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
your friends that aren't doing it.
and hers isn't even weight loss. It's for
Yeah,
her
just
health.
for health, yeah.
Yeah, it
Yep.
is for her health. But yeah, so it is. It's hard because we're human, and food is such a big part of our lives. You do have to find that balance.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you can't find balance if you're constantly teeter-tottering from one thing to the next to the next to the next. So
So the next segment we're going to talk Huskers. So any final words of encouragement for the listeners before we switch from health and fitness to the real reason why you came in here is talking about Nebraska.
Yeah. Your circle is huge. The people that you surround yourself with are going to be massive to your success. Look, I want to be here without changing the people that I am around. I am around people I strive to be like. I put the people I care about around people who I care about. Your support system is everything. Social media is not the real world. If your circle on social media are the people that are in your real life, social media is a great tool. Social media is toxic and it will crush any aspirations or dreams that you may have if you let it. Surround yourself, and that's online, and that is more importantly in real life, with people that are like-minded and have goals. And look, if what we talked about off air, if there is cancer in your life, or if there is something that is holding you back from being who you know you can be, that's got to go. It's got to go. Number one rule: it's you, and it's what you're about. Be selfish.
Great boundaries.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Important.
Up against the break. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little Husker football and maybe a little 2023 outlook for Nebraska with Matthew Taylor coming right back at you on 93.7 The Ticket.
Mike Shaver here for Trek CBD. It's basketball season, and that means you're fighting cold weather and snow to get to the arena, waiting for lines at a game, and yelling too much at the refs. Trek CBD has a variety of products to help calm me down during the game, so I don't go over the top. And they have a variety of options to calm you down before, during, and after any game. Whether you're looking for drinkable Delta 8 seltzers, hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups for your beverages, or anything else, Trek CBD has it all at 84th and Andrew. Trek CBD, CBD done right.
Hair loss and thinning is chronic, progressive, and frustrating. What we know is that the earlier it's diagnosed and treated aggressively, the better the long-term results. QC Kinetics offers a unique and comprehensive approach to restoring and improving hair follicle density and hair thickness. The majority of hair loss can be managed medically without the need for surgery. Their multifaceted approach to hair restoration allows them to help you improve both the appearance and thickness of your hair. Call QC Kinetics Lincoln today at 402-205-4270 or go to QCkinetics.com.
The Ticket Water Cooler.
What should the expectation for a team that's gutting half of it, and you're replacing it with guys obviously that you like long term and some short term that you think can help right away. But this is a roster flipping. This is something that you would do if you're in about 3 or 4 years down the line, and they're building the program, not building the 2023 season.
I would say you'll see improvement on all three sides of the ball, because you're going to have so many new faces, new names, new numbers. It's going to be really fun.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit stoptextsstopwrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Let it slip it, cuff it, check it, talk to now and share it.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Let it slip it, cuff it, check it, talk to now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably... Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you a veteran looking for a new companion animal? A dog, a cat, or maybe something else? The Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs Vets Get Pets program can cover up to $350 of your pet adoption fees. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov/vetsgetpets to learn more about program requirements and how to apply. Want to help support the program? Get your Vets Get Pets specialty license plates from the Nebraska DMV. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Do you remember your favorite teacher? I sure do. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Teachers push students to do their best and help kids when they struggle. They make their classrooms welcoming and safe for all students. They create engaging lessons that help students access complex concepts and make connections. Support our public school teachers and students. Help make this the best school year yet.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Now back to Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in here. Final segment. We've been joined in studio by Matthew Taylor. If you missed any part of his story or any part of the show, we've had such a good last 2 hours. Talked about a lot of subjects. You can go back, check us out on the podcast, theticketfm.com. Last few minutes, I want to talk a little Husker sports. Most people that come in here are Nebraska fans. So kind of the question I had for you, and I know Coach Rule's probably listening to this right now, wherever he's at, flying home from Arizona, maybe. No. So kind of initial thoughts on when Coach Rule was hired, because everybody kind of had a different opinion at the time. And now we're 2 months past his hire date. So
it's only been 2 months.
2 months.
Are you sure?
Yep, November 29th. So now we're in January 29th. So kind of initial thoughts on when he got hired to now.
Yeah. So Iowa game feels like it was 3 years ago when us pulling off the Iowa win.
Oh, but it still feels
Remember
so
when
good.
we did that?
It
Remember?
still feels so
Yeah.
good.
Yes, it does.
And basketball. And y'all feels
Towards
so
the
good.
end of the year, I was like, just beat Iowa.
Yes.
Oh, it feels so good.
Honestly, I wanted to hate him. I did. I wanted, and I don't like saying that, but I was duped 2 times in a row. 2 times in a row, I got fooled, Jeff, and I got fooled hard. Took my kids to meet the coach and everything, and shook their hands and got pictures. I was like, "There's our leader for the next 20 years."
Oh yeah,
no more turnover. We got it.
I think we're all a little gun shy. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
I'm not alone in it.
Yes.
But there is no denying that man can lead. That man can motivate. I wanted to run through a wall for him, and I don't know if it. And again, I have my guard is up, right?
Yeah.
But you can't deny the recruiting factor. That dude hit the streets, dude. And every hire he's made, I'm like, huh, and you could talk about the young hires and this and that. But if you're really planning to be here and you're really trying to pick up the motivation and leading factor, why not surround the kids or the players with people like themselves, younger guys with charisma and some fire? And you don't coach at Texas high school. What the show that changed my life, Friday Night Lights, Coach Taylor, changed my life. I don't know if you're aware, but fictional character changed my entire life. My loose fictional, based off of Coach Gates.
Yeah.
But you don't coach at Texas high school and not be a good coach. I mean, that is a different animal.
They'll run you out
You're
of the
gone.
state.
Right.
They will put for sale signs up in your home, and your kids have to come home to it. Unless, of course, the show was all fictional. I'm pretty
No,
sure
I
that
have
happens.
family in Texas. It is not fictional.
Look, and you don't get to those ranks without being a coach, a leader. So that being said, I don't know the roster right now, and that's going back to your opening segment. That is hard to get the younger generation to love Husker football again without some stability, without the one and dones. I mean, our leading receiver last year is gone now. It's hard to fall in love with a team that you don't really know, but I want to believe, I do believe that Rule is the guy. Coach Rule is
Well, he is right now, whether we like it or not. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the reason I wanted I didn't believe is Coach Prime. Honestly, everything at that time was compared to what they're doing in Colorado. That is different. That is a different coaching environment. That is a different coaching staff. That is a different state. They are on the same level as us, as what I would say coming from the bottom, waking up the giant.
Yeah.
He's doing it a different way. We're doing it a different way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
This isn't a 2-year fix, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think he's here for a while. And if that's the case, I'm all in.
I hope so.
If you're here and gone in 2 years and you get another pay bump, I was duped for a 3rd time in a row.
Well,
and you'll be duped every other time too.
I think most Husker fans, this is how kind of I am, is like we were kind of like a dog that came from an abusive farm, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Nebraska fans have just been, we've kind of been like
neglected,
not fed.
Right.
We're just skin and bones,
left
right?
out in the
outside
rain.
in the cold. We're just, those
Couple
types of
kicks
things.
to the ribs.
Right. So then, we go to our new owner.
Mhm.
And what does the new owner want to do? The new owner wants just to pet us and
Little
feed
roaring
us
fire.
fireplace of warmth, just give us steak and
That's a
like,
good boy.
oh yeah, sleep on the bed with us, right? I mean, want to do everything we can to just make this dog feel loved, and we stick our hand out to pet the dog, and the dog is right.
Yep.
That's how we all feel right now. So I think yes, there's some of us, and I know you can just listen to Ticket all day long. There's people that are just they're just totally against it. People totally for it. Most people, I think, are cautiously optimistic
Mhm.
and excited. I mean, I've always been a big believer of like, okay, we need to have some hope in February because come August, that's when the hope dies.
Yeah.
So we need to be excited for the 8 months of the off season before the real life gets to us. So, all right. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Matthew, for taking your time on a Sunday to drive in and be with us. Have fun watching the games today. Good luck to the Sox this upcoming season, and we hope to have you back again.
Yep.
I appreciate you guys and everything you do for the community. Hey, Lincoln Sox, let's get to work at practice at 1:30. Love you guys.
All right.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.